Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Discover New Music podcast from Pelt Music, where we put the spotlight on bands that we have featured over on our Discover New Music playlist on Spotify. One such band is James and the Cold Gun, and we will be chatting to them very shortly. But before then, just the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt, and we're on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, wherever you're watching or listening. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the Discover New Music podcast. We're delighted today to be joined by James and the Cold Gun. I'm joined by the two Jameses. So we have James Joseph and James Biss. Thank you both for joining me today. How are you both doing this fine morning?
Doing all right, to be fair. All good, all good. A little tired, but we're excited to have a chat. Today is the dreaded kind of post-tour day where we have to unload the van and get everything that you leave behind back in order. What's the best thing about going on tour sometimes is you can kind of escape your normal life. Yeah. But then everything falls apart. You have to come back and try and get it back in order.
Yeah, exactly. Sadly, it's all still waiting for you when you get back, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah, we'll chat about the tour you guys have just been on in a second. But before we get to that, we start every podcast on the Discover New Music podcast exactly the same way. Obviously, the podcast is designed for new listeners, people check out bands perhaps they're not familiar with. So with that in mind, we will start off with what we call the origin story. So what is the origin story for James and the Cold Gun? How did the two of you come together?
Well, we'll try and give you a fairly condensed version.
Yeah, there's a long version, there's a short.
All right, let's go one for one if we can remember it. So weirdly, we met by chance. We were both going to the same uni, but a year apart. And the uni had this weird job where they give you like a bit of money each week to blog about it and basically lie about how good the uni is. But for some reason, he managed to get that job the year before, and then I was the next year. So there was like this meeting, this handover period where you had to meet the person who was doing the job beforehand, and they kind of explain what to do. And as soon as we met each other, we were both wearing band shirts, and it was like, oh, nice shirt, man. Oh, same sort of thing. Like you like music, and it's quite weird in Cardiff to come across someone who plays in bands who you've never met before is kind of rare because it feels like everybody knows each other in Cardiff already.
Yeah.
So we started sort of slowly became friends, and then there was a band after that we started.
Yeah. No, we did like a hardcore band together, and obviously completely kind of different style of music, but it was kind of less my thing. But me and James, I was kind of not in the scene at the time. I was like kind of hidden away doing my own thing. So it was a great chance to kind of like get together and actually like do something. I was a band for like 6 months. We did like a load of tours in it but as all bands do, just kind of like fell apart and everything. And we thought like afterwards, we were like, well, we don't actually want to stop making music together because we really enjoyed it and like writing together, and we just wanted to like scratch a different itch. So
for sure. And the other thing that happened, I was in a different band before this band, a band called Holding Absence, and we just lost a guitarist at the time. So I had James fill in for a few of those tours. So we knew that we worked, we knew that we could get on the road and stuff. But that band was sort of not doing it for me musically anymore. I think you started it like 6 or 7 years ago. And then your taste just changes. You never think it's gonna, but your taste just changes. So we both had like a rock and roll like itch to scratch, and I think we work well together. Like I've always been the kind of like the business one of the band who loves just like trying to say like, oh, we're gonna do this next and do this next, and then he can actually write songs. So it works.
We're a good partnership.
Yeah, match made in heaven. Yeah, and clearly, it seems like fate that you guys were thrown together under the circumstances you were, and obviously, the outcome of that is James and the Cold Gun. We have featured your track "Plug Me In" on our Discover New Music playlist, and obviously, it's artists from that playlist that we choose for the corresponding podcast. So, next question for me then relates to the song that we included on the on the playlist rather. So talk to us a little bit about Plug Me In. What's the song about? How did it come together?
So that song especially kind of sums up how we felt over the two years of lockdown. I hate to have to still talk about lockdown because I think we all want to just move on now. Fingers crossed we're out the other end. But the song kind of we both in the lockdown years. Obviously, when we started the band, the plan, as most bands do, the plan is to just get to your local pub and do a gig and kind of work it from there. Whereas for us, it was a bit strange. We weren't able to play, so all we could really do is write and jam and stuff. But we're lucky enough that Biss's parents have a garage where it's sort of away enough from the next house over to be able to like crank our amps and play some drums and stuff in there. And it really, that going there every day in lockdown and just mucking around made us feel like we were back in school or something. Like when you first like playing with instruments for the first time. And we just realized that we loved like quite intense like rock songs, like all the kind of early Foo Fighters stuff. I think was the kind of thing that got that track off the ground. And the lyrics to that song are essentially just almost like a little nod to volume and to how good it feels to just play live fast loud music.
It's such like a cathartic song to play live as well, because it's like it's the second song in the set we do, so it's that real kind of we're in now, like it's just down picking the whole thing, just loud, noisy. Like by the end of it, my hands so
our
tired.
Fingers are just killing. We got his team, and they're like still battered after the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we always end just like the song starts fast, and it just gets faster and faster and faster at the end, and we just get chucked out the other side, and it's the best feeling doing that song live.
Yeah, and it works really well. Obviously, we loved it, hence we put it on the playlist. And we've caught you guys live actually a couple of times, including this past Saturday with Therapy in Norwich. And
sick! Oh, wicked!
Yeah, listeners can read our review of that show on our website, fullpeltmusic.com. And at the show, you actually referenced something you've just referenced again there, the fact that you obviously were playing for a couple of years in James's mum's garage, basically. And it did make me think on Saturday, we've only just had Mother's Day. I hope you obviously bought her a nice present to make up for it.
I think we were on tour.
Oh, no.
I think we were away.
Maybe get some flowers on the way to drop off the gear today.
Yeah, bless them. Obviously, it's great to have that support. And obviously, early tracks were formed there, and then obviously you guys have been able to go and record your debut EP, which will be coming out soon. So before we get the EP in full, we'll talk about your most recent single that you put out. It's Mutual, another track obviously you've been playing live. So similar question to Plug Me In, really. Obviously this being your latest single, just talk to us a little bit about that track, obviously because listeners can head to all the streaming platforms, obviously, to check that out. And also, there's a really cool video for it, which gave me quite sort of old school retro type feelings watching it on YouTube. So listeners need to check that out. So if you could tell us a bit about It's Mutual and perhaps the video as well.
Okay, I'll talk a little about like that video was like the first time we've done like a fun video.
Yeah.
Like everything else has been like, I like to think we're like a fairly like fun band. Like we take it seriously, but we're not like a serious band.
Yeah, true.
Like all the other videos have been like trying to look cool, like performance, speaking of vibe. And this one we're like, fuck it, let's just do something really fun and like try and put as many skits in there as possible. And like it's probably one of the most like enjoyable times I've done a video.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. It was really cool. We were lucky enough to a friend of a friend of a friend knew someone who lent us like the classic car, and we were all day we were being so careful like not to like dent it or anything. And then I don't know if you've seen the last couple of seconds of the video, but basically James's dad is there with the leaf blower trying to make us look like we're going fast, and the leaf blower hits this backdrop, the green screen backdrop, and then the big stand comes and smashes the back of the priceless vintage car, and we're just there like, what do we do? There's definitely a memory we won't forget anytime soon.
Yeah.
The song itself, though, is kind of it's kind of a nod to a lot of the bands that we seem to really both like are like it's kind of like late 90s, early 2000s like British rock bands. So like we always think it sounds a little bit like Feeder or like something like Three Colors Red, that kind of like, it's like a song with like, you know, like a fairly like poppy chorus, but it's driving, and it's got bits that kind of throw you in, and they are, you know, full on rocking sort of bits. So yeah, we were really chuffed when we wrote that one, I think. And the kind of message in the lyrics is basically trying to encapsulate when you kind of reach a stalemate in a relationship, whether that's like a friend or a partner or a work colleague or something, but that moment where you both realize like there's just silence and you're both not in agreement, and it's kind of just awkward. And I've had one or two car journeys that I think back to where you can sense like maybe the person's behind you or next to you, and you just, nobody knows what to say. And there's probably the best thing to do in that situation is like to try and chat about it, but you just can't. There's something like stopping you. It's that horrible like sicky feeling. But I really like how that one turned out. I think that's one of my favourites so far. Yeah, no, us too. And lyrically and thematically, like you said, I think that's something everyone can relate to. I think we've all been on them car journeys in our life. Really, really interesting. I say, really love the video. So there's 2 tracks already there that we've really, really enjoyed. So we've also had a bit of a sneak peek at the EP, which obviously both of those tracks are going to feature on. So False Start is the title of the EP. It comes out on April 29th, and obviously listeners need to be sourcing that either streaming or preferably I believe there's some physical releases for the EP as well. So obviously, ideally head to the band's website and pick up a bundle from there. But talk to us about the EP then. Obviously it's the first body of work you're putting out as a band, so obviously it's always quite an important statement to make. What should listeners expect from that EP as a whole?
It's funny with us because we started the band like a couple of months before lockdown, so all of our first recordings and everything were done in our mate's bedroom, like over the road kind of thing, and we didn't have any money to pay him, so we'd like pay him in like Harvester burgers. We'd like take him down, and if like
we let him double up on his fries.
We did a really good job at the end of the day.
Oh wow, really generous, yeah.
But all of the first stuff was very much like bedroom produced. Like we didn't have a drummer or anything, so it was all that kind of like more DIY kind of MIDI drums kind of style. And this EP is really the first thing where we've been able to we could actually go into a studio, live drums, everyone get in a room together. It was pretty much almost one of the first times we played in a room together with the drummer.
Yeah. We weren't really expecting it. I mean, so the story with us working with Ade was amazing, really. Like, we basically, our friend who was doing it in the garage, our friend who was doing it in his bedroom, and he ended up getting really busy with some things going on in his personal life. So he had to sort of say like, oh, I won't be able to work with you guys for a bit. Like, and we were like, oh, well, it was totally understandable. So then I sort of thought, well, we've got all this time on our hands in lockdown. Like, it was the time where, we thought it was going to be over in 3 weeks and 6 weeks, then a year. And then, so I was like, oh, well, let's just produce ourselves. How hard can it be? So we did one track ourselves. And when we first, like the first few hours, I'm quite a naive person, but I was like, oh my God, we're the best producers in the world. This sounds exactly finally exactly how we wanted to sound. And then it came to the actual mixing side and trying to get everything to sit. And oh my God, it was just terrible. Yeah. And so at that point I thought, oh, you know what? Instead of going with another local guy, because don't get me wrong, there's tons of really good local people. We were like, let's just see how much, just out of curiosity, how much it would cost to go with someone who's done some of our favorite things. So we made a list. We had like 3 or 4 kind of names. I think one of the names was I forget his second name, but this guy called Owen, who's Welsh, but he did Oasis and the Killers and stuff. Then there was this guy called Dave who did the Manic Street Preachers, and then there was Adrian who done obviously we've done like Feeder and Foo Fighters and Placebo and stuff. And we started getting quotes back from all of the producers, and it was all sort of around, a few £1,000s a song. Yeah. And we were like, okay, yeah, never mind. Then we had Adrian's manager hit us up, not talking about money initially. He just said, Ade really likes the tracks. Do you want to jump on a call? And we were like, whoa, like the guy that's done Foo Fighters wants to chat to us on the phone. So we had a phone call, we hit it off, and we ended up speaking to an hour without even going into money. And then obviously that, it kind of sort of came to the point where I was like, right then, boys, do you want to book something? And we were sort of like, oh, what's it going to be? And his normal rate is a lot, deservedly so, but he basically cut us a deal, really. Like, and we couldn't believe it. Like, he's taken a punt on us, and we're really, really grateful for that. But what was funny is the first time when we got to the studio, we've never been anywhere like that before. It's this big kind of studio, like a big, almost like a mansion, you know, with like a little barn house and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we got there, and we're used to sort of giving someone the drum track, and then you sit in their bedroom and you just play your guitars over it. Everything's perfect. Age starts going, right then, boys, set up all your amps. And we're all sort of looking at each other, like, we're all of us. And he's like, yeah. It turns out he made us do it live, but we'd never done that before. So we were kind of shitting it, because we hadn't even played a show at this point. And it was our drummer's like third sort of like practice with us. So, but it was wicked. It made us a better band for sure. We had to do a fair few takes to get it down.
Yeah. Like, do Plug Me In like over and over and over and over again. I must have done it like 10 times in a row. It was, you just be like, great, yeah, another one. And be like, oh shit.
It was really like when you see those like really old music documentaries when they do it on tape, and they had no choice other than to do it like all at once. But no, it was wicked. I think it was quite cool. Yeah, I always tell people that Adrian was the first person to see our band play live, because that was he was wicked. He was in the little control room, just kind of like he's very like visual, and like when he likes something, he's there like grabbing the desk and banging his head and going like that. So
he's just a proper music lover. Like, again, I think that's why he took a punt on us, because he saw what we were doing, and it's that kind of like, even before, it's that kind of just raw kind of rock sound. It's like fast, it's loud, and that's something that I think has like a special place in his own heart. So being able to kind of to do that for us and help us realize that kind of sound, whereas like a lot of rock nowadays as well is like so perfect, and like everything's precise and tuned, and it's all so kind of together, and it's loud the whole way through. And I think AIDS, in terms of production style, has given us like a lot of dynamic, and there's like the loud bits of super loud, and just the energy is almost like we're playing in a room. Like when I listen to it, it feels like how it is like playing it in a room.
Yeah, for sure.
It was weird getting used to, because like you go to a producer, you want it to sound like perfect. You want them to just like make you sound like some band that you want to be in the future when you're all really good at your instruments. But A just made it sound really real. And
it took a bit of getting used to.
Once you got a head around it. But even like sending it to people and like having like other people kind of listen or review it or whatever, like I think people kind of miss that kind of that real sound in a way. I think that's what our EP does.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, having someone like Adrian, buy into, your sound and what you're doing is always gonna help, the end outcome. But for you personally, it must feel like, vindication as well to get that response from someone like Adrian.
Oh yeah, definitely. Again, it was at a time where we kind of needed it, maybe, because to do a band kind of at the level we're trying to do it at, you do have to sort of sacrifice a lot of things. You can't work as much in your job, or like maybe you can't give your partner as much time as they'd like, and things like that. And in lockdown, us putting so much time into a project that hadn't even played a show, definitely we had a lot of people sort of thinking like, oh boys, what are you doing, kind of thing. So yeah, no, anything like that is always super nice. Like it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, and you say, all this work being done without playing a show, but thankfully, as we talk now, you guys have been able to play numerous shows, and you guys have been out on the road as support for Salem, for Creeper, and for Therapy recently. I believe you're going to be going out with Elvana as well, which will obviously be quite an entertaining night. How has it felt for you guys to get out on stages and play these songs live?
Oh, absolutely unreal! Like we played our first show. It was end of August.
Yeah, end of August
last year, 2021. Yeah, and that was like that was a real kind of, it was a big moment for us because we chose to do it in our hometown Cardiff, in like the venue that, like, as you're growing up as a kid, like that's the venue you want to play Club Iba Bach. It's like the one we all like hold like a special place in our hearts really for it.
Yeah.
And it's like upstairs, like the big room. We were like, shit, like we got to do this now. It's like we had a great lineup of like a few bands, like Welsh bands that we were really enjoying, and we were like, we've got to like turn up now. Like we either send it as this band we want to be, or we kind of go and just be a bit quiet, play the songs and go. And we just had to like kind of just turn it on, just like go 100% and just play this show. And since then we've done like up until now like 70 shows.
Yeah, Norwich was show 70.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a loser. I keep a spreadsheet with everything on.
Oh, I love spreadsheets.
The boys actually make fun of me because like we literally go off stage, I take my socks off, and then I just get on my spreadsheet. It's just a weird little ritual for me now.
No, totally. It's just been like having 2 years of that. Like we had our first show planned for the spring of 2019, where we just like, we'd been a band for a couple of months, but not much. And then everything got completely cut. So we've been sat for 2 years in this room, in the garage, just twiddling our thumbs, just like waiting for the moment where we get the call. It's like, it can happen. And then like you get a few and it's like, oh, it can. And then it was pushed back. And then you hear it's not going to be till like this, like 2022. And we were just there kind of slowly losing our minds kind of thing. The only thing we could do is go and record, all right.
Yeah.
Coming back to the EP, that was kind of why we decided on the name False Start for the EP. Like the artwork is actually like it's like an Olympic runner kind of like stumbling. We found like an image from like a long time ago, and we thought that kind of summed up our first sort of outing as a band. Really, like we were like there ready to play a show, and then just everything like fell apart. But in some ways, there's a silver lining. I think we're like, in a way, like we learned a lot about ourselves in 2 years. Like I think there was a lot of time to like reflect on things, and I think in a way, like it's quite an insensitive thing to say, but I think the pandemic really separated like who really wants to do a band and who's just like, actually no, I don't want to do this, because like seems like everyone who's come out the other side still doing it. You can tell they really love it. Like
no, definitely. I think it has certainly had that effect. On the spreadsheet, now I'm a data geek as well. I love a good spreadsheet, and obviously, nice, you need to collect that data from now, because otherwise you're going to be missing that, and in the future it could come back. I know certain bands have been able to put out books and things like that based on the data they've collected of the show's place. It is great stuff. And obviously you mentioned your love of 90s British rock music, and obviously you just finished up that tour with Therapy that we caught you on. What was it like touring with the guys in Therapy, and are you still looking and watching their shows and trying to learn from people like that?
Oh, absolutely. Like, we learned so much like every night, even in terms of like how to tour with a band at that level, and like how on like when you tour with like a small, like a younger band, everything's just chaotic, and it's like things are going this, times this, it's rushed, it's whatever. And with Therapy, everything was so like it was a tight ship that was run really. It was so easy for us, and they were all like, everyone was so nice to us. They like, and like seeing those kind of songs and seeing a crowd, especially because that tour was delayed for like 2 years, I think it was. So everyone there was like absolutely waiting for the show for like obviously like 30 years kind of thing, like obviously anniversary, but like an extra 2 years on top of that. Just so ready to like receive their music, and like seeing how like their riffs like interact with the crowd, and seeing how they play with the crowd, seeing how they go together as well, was so inspiring to us. But even like afterwards as well, like there's something that shocked me when we were like, so it was the last night. It was a bittersweet gig, Norwich, because we had such a fun time playing it, and the crowd was really good. Everyone seemed to really love just like loud guitar music, and it was perfect for us. But knowing it was kind of the last night, and they came in afterwards and they were like, "Oh, boys, it's been really great to have you on this tour. If anything, like seeing your energy has like inspired us a little bit to go kind of harder and bring it." And I was like, they've inspired like every band, like all the grunge bands that we loved, like they've inspired with their music. So to hear that we've inspired them a little bit, I was like,
super.
Come
nice.
on.
No,
it
that
was
is fun.
quite fun to. I think the cool thing about playing those shows as opposed to playing to slightly younger people. So obviously, like the Creeper demographic is like a slightly younger crowd, and they cheer as soon as you step on stage because they're just they've only gone, maybe some of those the youngsters in that crowd, they might have only ever been to like 10 shows, especially with the 2 years where nobody could go to shows. But obviously the therapy fan base, when you first go on stage, they're sort of there like that, sort of like
Who's this
they've seen chances are someone in their 40s, 50s, 60s has seen almost all there is to see. Some of the people who probably watched us in Norwich saw Nirvana or saw Mudhoney or saw whoever else. So it's quite fun to try and see if we can win them over.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up, the first show, I think I was a little bit like, oh, okay, we're going to have to get used to people, older people just standing there and nodding there. But then after that gig, I realized them going actually means they're loving it. It's like, they could be at the pub, and we had some really great conversations. And I think one of my favorite things was chatting to those people who do know a bit more about music than say the 14, 15-year-olds who might be at a Creeper gig. It's really interesting to see who they think we sound like. And, some people were making really astute, like comparisons that I'd agree with, saying like, you guys sound like this band and that band. And if that band was a bit, and we were like, oh yeah, that's helped us kind of figure out what we are.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear the dynamics of the shows that you guys have been doing, and obviously that you're learning from bands like Therapy. It's certainly going to set you in good stead for headline shows, which that segues us nicely onto very shortly. You're going to be heading out on your debut headline tour around the UK. So I mean, you must be really excited to be playing headline shows. And what can the fans expect from them? So it shows, why should they come down and check you out?
Yeah, absolutely. As James was saying, like a lot of the stuff we've done at the moment, it's been like first on, like opening, or like second on kind of thing. And as we're a new band, we know people aren't going to know our songs straight off the bat. We're not going to have people singing along. So like all we've got to do is our job is just to win people over.
Yeah,
we'll be doing so much of that. It's going to be like a similar kind of energy to it, but like this time it's like on our playing field. And especially this headliner, like we go on tour like the day after the EP comes out. So like it's the first time we're like, you can actually hear all our songs that we're going to play, because we've been playing these songs for quite since day one. That was the set, because that was what we thought the band was. We were like, these are our songs, this is who we are, whether you can listen to them all, not like all yet. But like this is actually going to be the first time where hopefully we're going to have people who kind of hear the start riff and they're like, oh, it's that song.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be like a celebration, really. Like, it's going to be really cool to see who comes. Like, we spoke to quite a few people at therapy shows who they're really like supportive people. They were like, oh, we're definitely going to come back next week, like in 3 weeks, and see you again down the road in the smaller venue. And it's going to be really nice to start feeling like the people we're playing to are actually there for us. That'll be quite it'd be quite a pinch me sort of moment. It's like, whoa, these people are, parting with their hard-earned cash to watch us. It's not like they've just happened to see us because they've been at another show. So that's going to be really cool. I think we're excited. We've got some amazing support bands as well. Like, I think we're trying to get all of that stuff announced in the next few days. Just waiting on, all the kind of final bits of confirmation dates and things, but I think we've put together a really cool lineup. There's different bands supporting every night, which has been a total headache, but it's going to be so worth it, because I think like no two shows are going to be the same.
No, absolutely. And in the same way that we've been going about kind of playing loads of shows and like opening and like trying to spread our music as far as possible, it's just a nice way to like try and do that for as many people as possible. Just like music that we kind of believe in, and bands that we kind of really like as well.
Definitely. It's obviously going to be a fantastic tour, for you guys and for everyone that does go down and check it out. So obviously everyone listening to this needs to try and find a tour date local to them. You are playing some of the best independent small venues around. I've looked at the list and there's some great venues on there. And obviously the way that most people keep track of everything these days is social media. So obviously you guys are on social media, and your ats are all pretty easy to remember, actually, which is quite good, because sometimes when I do this bit, they're all over the place, but you guys, you guys have nailed it down. So you guys are on.
That's the business head and James. That is.
Well, there's one anomaly, one little anomaly, isn't there? So Instagram and Facebook, you are Instagram and Facebook, you are and Cold Gun.
That's it.
Twitter, you're and the Cold Gun, but with an underscore on the end.
Yeah, I was gutted. It's one of those times where there's a Twitter account called and the Cold Gun with like one follower and one. I wonder if there's a way to email someone and be like, please, can we just have this? I think maybe there is once you get to a certain size, if it's inactive, but yeah, it's all right. I'll live with that. I'll try not to lose too much sleep over it.
Yeah, there's much worse dynamics out there for that. So you've done quite well. And obviously, listeners, that's where you need to head along with the band's website to find them tour dates, to pre-order the EP. A lot of exciting stuff coming from the band, which is absolutely fantastic. The last part of the Discover New Music podcast that we have with the artists we talk to is a little feature we call Setlist Science. And obviously, you guys are quite early in your career as James and the Cold Gun, but you've played in various bands in the past, so it could be interesting to get your thoughts on this. It's basically how much importance do you place on the structure of a set list, and are there any rules that you try to follow when you're building a set list?
Oh yeah, we're pretty on it with that, aren't we? Yeah, I think I feel like the most important, what I want to do when you start a show, like your first song is just an absolute statement of intent.
Yeah,
like you go on, you're like, this is what we're about. Like, especially being a rock band, it's like our first song is like loud, groovy, fast, just unapologetically like rock kind of thing. It's got like a big build as well, so it's that all kind of like as soon as we come on, it's like bam, loud, build, excitement, speed, energy, and then we go straight into Plug Me In after that, an even faster song.
yeah. The first two is definitely like, if anyone's in the room, we're hoping that they'll stay after seeing the first two songs. Like we're at the level where we just want to convince people to watch the whole thing. I think one of our big rules is that we try to, if there's two songs that are really similar in pace or really similar in feel, we'll try and keep them separate. I think I'd like to think that, obviously, because we're an early band, but I always think every album cycle should have a really good set opener. Like, so right now our EP, the song 7, that's our opener. But like, hopefully we'll write an even better opener on the album that would become the song that we open then. Always chuck your best one last, I guess. That's like, if you've got a couple of best ones, then happy days.
Yeah. We had someone fill in on a bass for us the other day, Josh from a band called Foxjaw.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about this, and he was like, they always try and structure their sets where it's like, you start off here, you have that little kind of in the middle, where not necessarily like a dip, but like it might be like a change in kind of like feel, like a slightly softer song or a slightly slower song, and then
I think it's called the energy curve. I've heard it referred to.
Is it?
That's it. Yeah, and that's the thing. The people who've actually stayed, because you do get sort of like, you got a lot of people especially for a support slot, you get people who just happen to be there at the start, so they get that bit of energy at the start. Then if they're not into you, fair enough, they might dip off by the middle to go get a beer or something. But then new people who would make, cause, especially when set times aren't published, new people who might be turning up for therapy, turning up right towards the end. So that's when the energy peaks again. The people who just like us and want to stay for the whole thing, they get the whole spectrum. They get the softer, like none of the ballads.
There's not really anything in our set at the moment. It's literally like that's the point where we play It's Mutual and like Cheating on the Sun, and it's only because those songs are slightly slower than the rest
they're
of them.
still pretty full on, aren't they?
Yeah, but you guys will obviously get to build that in the future and build it up. And always really interesting to get that last question in around the set list. And actually, I loved on Saturday that you guys had the tape of the Kate Bush song, James and the Cold Gun, play before you come on. Obviously, I thought that worked really, really well.
Oh, cool. Thank
If
you.
that's obviously something you're going to be looking to continue in the future, but it's definitely got my blessing for what it's worth. So,
I think it's going to become one of those things. I think it's going to probably be one of those things that we always do, just because it really helps us get our heads in the game. Like there'll be times where like you are sitting backstage and you sort of just, a lot of the time on tour you're kind of just tired. Like so you're sitting backstage on your phone, just kind of like, and then you hear the song and you're like, oh shit, let me do a couple of star jumps and like sort of, you know, crack your fingers and that, and then so it's quite a nice way to get us in the zone, I think.
Yeah, it's depending on how fast or slow the day's gone. Like hearing that song is like an intense moment of shit, like it's now, like the song's on, like we gotta go kind of thing. Or like if it's like say these therapy ones, it's been actually like quite relaxing up to the point, so you kind of hear it on there, just kind of in the side, just kind of air drumming or doing air guitar to it, and like it really just it sets the mood for us, sets the tone.
It's the only time it's bad is if you're in the toilet and it's like you're in the toilet and you're like, oh we're on. That's like a nuclear warning alarm when you're on the toilet. You're like, well, we gotta go.
2 minutes, that's good.
Yeah,
that clock just ticking down. Yeah, pressure's on at that point. But if nothing else, it's also just a really awesome song, a really great song.
We're big Kate Bush fans for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic artist, definitely. No, thank you both, the Jameses, for joining me. James and Nicole Gunn, we've really enjoyed everything you've put out so far. We're really excited to see what you guys have got coming up in the future. I think one thing certainly to take away from our chat is that, you know, people listening, as we were just talking about, you know, when you're going to see a band play live, make sure you get down there early, check out the support band, because you never know, you might be discovering your next favorite band. Obviously everyone needs to check out your headline tour. Everyone needs to check out the EP when it comes out on the 29th. What would be your final message for listeners today?
Do what you want. Start a band. Start a band is the main one.
Start a band.
It's the most fun thing you can do. Like, and start a fun band as well. Like, it doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be an amazing musician.
Yeah.
As long as you've got passion and you've got drive and you got somewhere where you can just go and be a bit loud, you'll have the best times of your life doing that.
Yeah. And if you like what we do, just chuck us a message, because we love chatting to people. We love not even in like an ego stroking way. We just love we love going back and forth and just chatting about music with people. It's like one of the favorite things about doing it.
Yeah, it comes across. You guys clearly love what you do, and it refers back to what we were talking about earlier with the pandemic. You know, you can clearly see the people coming out the other end of the people that really enjoy what they're doing and really want to do it. Again, guys, thank you both for joining me, and obviously we wish you the absolute best for the headline tour and with the EP coming out.
Oh, thanks for speaking to us, mate. Really enjoyed that. Cheers.
Well, thank you so much for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with James and Nicole Gunn. Be sure to follow them on social media and to check out their debut EP, False Star, out on April 29th. And if you would, please do follow us on social media. You can find Full Pelt Music on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, wherever you're watching or listening. And we will be back very soon for another edition of the Discover New Music podcast.